Thank you to Loic Nadal Guay for their generous donation on Patreon and for not getting mad at me for possibly butchering their name. If you'd like to join them in their generosity, the link to my Patreon page is in the description.
Well, it's the shit show!
Oh, God. I didn't know you were going to do that.
Oh, boy. Do we have things to tell you?
Have we got a show for you? Hello, everyone. My name is Deckerlink, the Trained Unprofessional, and welcome to a special edition of All of the Above. Again, I'm not joined by Caleb today. Wasn't planning on it. This is a special me and Bri edition. Bri is also here. Say hi, Bri.
Hello.
We are here to honor and celebrate 1 full year of being in Chicago. We first moved up here.
Being in Illinois, specifically.
Well, yeah. But
nobody knows where the fuck we are, so
yeah,
Chicago.
we're in Chicago. And we first got up here the very dying days of July 2019. And today is August 14th. So we've been up here for a little over a whole fucking year.
We did it.
We did it.
We see Mo.
We see Mo. I don't know what that means.
We did it.
Oh, okay. Is that actually? I always thought I was saying the word wrong.
No.
Oh, okay. Cool. So, the way I was imagining us, I scoot over this way and then I just get pulled back. It's weird. The way I was imagining us doing this is just sort of a recap thing.
Like a recap of everything that's happened in the year, or what?
Kind of, yeah.
God, okay.
Well, it's not all of it in all of detail, but I guess the first thing would be the idea to move up here. That was all you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the insight there.
Alright, I'll go into it. So, okay, this gets a little bit complicated. As a kid, I grew up here in Illinois, in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it up here. And then I moved down to Kansas when my grandmother took me in, did my college, and so on and so forth. And every once in a while, I'd drive up here. I'd visit the family, mostly like my dad and my stepmom Lee. And more, every time I left to go back to Kansas, I just didn't want to leave. I always loved it up here so much. I think at one point, like when we were leaving to go home, I legitimately cried. Because I really did not want to go home. Every time I came to Illinois, I was like, this feels like home. It feels like where I'm meant to be. So...
I hate them. Can you scoot your chair up a little bit? Thank you.
Okay.
You're fucking up my green screen.
Not the green. But, I think we had been together maybe 3 years at that point, ? When I was really fully like, I'm gonna move to Illinois, or, you know, I would greatly want to do it. Would you fucking ever imagine moving up there with me?
It was our first year having traveled up here.
Yeah.
So that would be about we came up for Christmas 2019, Thanksgiving 2018, Halloween 2016. So we would have been together just going on 2.5 years at that point.
Yeah, okay, so about 3. So that's cool. And over time, you warmed up more to the idea. And then finally, I think early 2019, if not late 2018, is when we're like, okay, we'll make this a reality. You'll graduate. And
oh, it was before that because important step here is that your parents' house burned down. And I bring that up because when they were they had to rebuild it, but their landlord was being all fucky-wucky, and they had to get out of even the rebuilt one.
Yeah.
So they were looking to buy a house, and your stepmom Lee knew that you wanted to come up here. Your dad also knew, but if I remember, Lee was really the one looking for a place where y'all had. I don't think we all had discussed it, but the plan was that we would be able to move up, stay with them until we got on our feet, and they found a place that had like a big fuck basement, and that was kind of part of the plan. So the plan to move up here, the discussion on that started like Thanksgiving 2017, but it didn't really become like solidified plan until Lee bought that house. Because it's Lee and your dad, I should say. I don't know whose name is on the fucking papers, but
Both of them.
whenever they would bought that house, I remember there being a moment of them sending you a message and be like, "We got the house, so you can come up here." And we were like, "Oh, I guess we are. Cool."
No, it's not exactly how it panned out. Me and Lee were talking about, like, hey, I know you guys are going through a lot. Sorry, excuse me.
How dare you?
I know. We're going through a lot, or you're going through a lot, but potentially, if me and at that time you were would you like me to refer you into the past as also Vivian, or
You use Vivian, I guess.
okay, so me and Viv want to move up. Is there any way that maybe, depending on how things go, we could cram in with you guys before we get our apartment or house or whatever the fuck we were going to be? And Lee said, I was already making plans for that while we were looking for houses. And I was like, oh. And then later on, Dad had the same sentiment where Lee was like, yeah, the kids are going to be moving up. And Dad was like, oh shit, where are they going to stay? Are they going to stay with us? And Lee was like, yeah, that's why we got this house, Steve. And he was really happy. He was like, this is why I keep you around.
Oh, okay. That's yeah. That I remember it being that way now too. So,
but going back to the plan, me and Lee, I remembered this later after the big blow up. Me and Lee had talked multiple times about when we went up here. She kept saying that she wanted you to work. And I kept saying, preferably I'd get a job where you wouldn't have to. And this is where the misunderstanding took part, because she was under the impression before we moved up there that we had totally agreed to me saying, yeah, you would work while we were there. Mm-hmm. And what I said was that I would talk to you about it, and I knew that if need be, you would be comfortable with it. But that wasn't our actual direction. So she saw it as, oh, he thinks it's appropriate, he'll do it, it'll be fine. And then I was like, in my impression, it was just, okay, I'll get a job and I'll take care of it.
Yeah, see, that was... I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, but we'll get more into it. But yeah, the biggest problem was that everyone had an idea of what was going on, and no one was either willing to or at liberty to discuss it. But important piece of context going back to the planning of it, one of the reasons why I was a bit apprehensive of moving up here at all was because I have never moved out of the state.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Kansas.
In the boond.
In the shit-ass state of Kansas, and the most I'd ever moved was from my hometown to Kansas City. And, am I boring you?
No, I'm just getting a lot of notifications. We'll get into that later.
Yeah. just want you to stay with me for this brief few moments of it. I'll stall if I can. Yeah, so I'd never moved out of the state of Kansas, and my family and friends were there, but you've moved around a lot, more than you said, but
so
not, and so you're more used to being in different places. I'm
used to not even having stuff.
And so that was more of my apprehension, and a lot of the stuff I worried about did happen, which is, not having any friends around and being kind of lonely about it. But when we were living in Ottawa, before we were up here, we were in a position where I didn't have to work because my disabilities, mental and physical, limit my ability to do so. I cannot do it. I have tried and failed almost 20 fucking times. So when we moved up to Illinois, and we told this to numerous people, they're like, "Oh, this is the plan: is I will be the homemaker, and she will, and you will be working." And every time someone would be like, "Oh, that ain't gonna work. My opinions are more right than yours."
And over, especially, I'd be like, "Well, what would you think if it was flipped? If I stayed at home and you worked?" And they were like, "Oh, well, that'd be good." And I'm like, "So what the fuck is the difference? That I have a pussy?"
Apparently, and it was so fucking infuriating because they would always talk to us like, "Well, welcome to adulting." We'd be like, "Oh yeah, money's a little tight." They're like, "Welcome to adulthood." It's like, we've been living on our own
for 6 years.
Yeah,
well,
not quite 6, but we've been out and surviving for years, and every time it was because it was the stigma of you're living with your parents, and there was always this kind of attitude of, well, you're here, which means you're the kid again. And it didn't ever get to this point of you're adults living in our house. It was you're the kids.
Yeah.
And that always fucking infuriated me.
Especially with the time gap, I can see how that would blend over. Yeah. You know, because they didn't really get to be around me in my childhood. So I think it's something like innate, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, it's hard for a parent to look at their kid as anything other than the kid.
Yeah.
But these weren't my fucking parents. And they were treating me like I was a kid at best. More like a fucking cancer at worst.
I'm really upset when you said they weren't your parents or they weren't your family.
I made a video diary entry where I said that I didn't consider them as family. And like the day that went out, and they would always talk to you. No one ever spoke to... I was so... I wanted to just talk about things, to discuss them, and no one ever was willing to just approach me and talk about it unless they were just going to say their piece and that be it.
And I mean, really looking back with the whole family thing, I mean, it's hard because I was telling you, just fucking, don't stir the waves, don't cause trouble, survival mode.
It's
and especially...
that's how you learned how to survive this kind of treatment.
With the sentiments that I had to go through today, more and more I'm like, I should have just fucking supported you. I should have just been like, yeah, you aren't his family. That doesn't mean you shouldn't treat him like he is. It's something that needs to be earned over time. He doesn't know you.
Yeah.
You know?
Because that's the whole reason I said it, was because I just didn't know them. They were doing me, and I even said in the video that they're doing me a great favor. Yeah. They're helping me out a lot right now, and they have repeatedly made me feel welcome sometimes.
It doesn't change the fact that you got to see them all of maybe 3 times before this.
Yeah, I had met them 3 times, once a year, before I lived with them.
Yeah.
And it was a bad arrangement. It was a bad fucking arrangement.
At least we had seen each other at least 20 times before we moved.
Oh, yeah. I had been inside you more times than I had met them.
Stop!
It's true.
Yeah.
May not need to be said, but it's true.
Definitely does not need to be said, but okay. But I'm still grateful for the chance that they gave us.
Oh, yeah.
But in hindsight, if I had known this is how it would have went, I literally would have just stayed in Kansas and saved up for us to immediately get a place coming out here.
Yeah. We literally could have just spent another year.
Yeah.
That's all it would have been, because at that point, you could have gotten a job that would have far exceeded... Because you were making our portion of the rent. We were living with my brother Aaron at the time. You're making our portion of the rent working at a fucking motel front desk.
Part-time.
Part-time. So imagine if you got in a full-time job in Kansas City or for Lawrence or some shit.
With my degree.
With a degree, we would have been able to save up enough money to buy a Ferrari.
Seriously.
So, like, and that translates to a shitty apartment.
But I mean, we took them on the offer because like I said...
Why the fuck wouldn't you?
Why the fuck wouldn't we? We wanted to be up here, and at the time, everyone thought we had a cohesive plan. Yeah. Everyone thought we were on the same page. Turned out to not be that way.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you want to be near your parents, and why wouldn't they want to help their kid?
Yeah.
Especially when their demands they thought were being met, and our demands we thought were being listened to.
Yeah.
Everyone was wrong, because a large portion of it just came down to they didn't want to actually have their offer taken advantage of. Because we've talked about this so much, it's hard for me to even like communicate it properly without feeling like I'm repeating myself.
It is very much repetition.
Yeah, because I mean we were there, like.
And I think, haven't you talked about it a couple of times on podcasts too?
Not at length. I attempted to once, and we kind of had a thing about it, but
yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
When we first moved in.
Yeah.
Because it was my thing of burning bridges, but especially now, I'm like, you can't keep hiding shit.
Yeah.
That's how things get worse. And like, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be painful and people are going to cry, but it's the only way to open the door to things getting better.
That's how I've been saying this shit for years, man.
I know.
But
you know me, I'm a little feely little fucker.
You're an empath. You care a lot about what people think and feel, and you really do care about people who have wronged you. Not because they wronged you, but because of the relationship you had before then. And it's totally fine. It's totally cool. But yeah, like, I endured verbal and sometimes physical beratement and terrible mistreatment on a damn near daily basis. Everything I did was wrong. Everything I didn't do should have been done. And I overheard just the worst shit talking I had ever been. There was active attempts to break us up. Like, there was I joined in on a live stream that Fabulous Aura did where he was playing Toontown for charity. And the entire time, I was just the most bitter asshole I had ever been because I was just in such a bad fucking place. I couldn't record anything because they considered it rude for them to be able to hear me, despite the fact that they would blast Big Bang Theory right above our fucking heads every night. There was a fucking hole in the roof of the basement. So I heard...
Not a hole, but a place where there was an insulation.
Yeah, like a pipe or something.
Yeah.
But I could hear every word, but God forbid we kept one piece of clothing on the floor of the room they said would be our space. Oh. But we would get fucking yelled at about that. Do you want to go into the trigger story?
Sorry, but Court was like, can y'all podcast live?
Oh, man. If only. But, do you want to go into the trigger story?
Which trigger story? The one that happened today?
No, your job. She worked at a place called Trigger, for the record.
Oh!
Yeah.
Sorry.
When you quit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll get into it. Basically, me and my stepmom had already had some talks because at the time you were working, I can't remember if you weren't working at all or you were working very few hours.
I was a GA at GameStop, and if you don't know, people out there, GAs at GameStop basically get 1, maybe 2 shifts a week.
Yeah. And a bit before this, Lee had said, yeah, you can, basically stay as long as you want, but we're going to put goals in place. So our goal was that we would move out basically after 3 months. Well, that kind of took a fucking hit because it took a month for either of us to get a job.
Yeah.
I got a pretty alright one, and we were saving up okay. And
I had an interview before we even moved.
Yeah. But the problem was, we had money to get like an apartment or move out a few times over. But the point was that we had to spend money to get our cars updated, get our new driver's license, get, all of that kind of shit. And then those cars ended up crapping out anyway.
Yeah, we spent hundreds of dollars updating the paperwork on cars we didn't have a month later.
Yeah. And we had to get new cars. So we had plenty of money, or we were always like a couple $100 short from where we needed to be. And then we had all of these big purchases we needed to do. Yeah. So basically, what they saw was Viv wasn't really contributing.
According to them,
I was doing all of the work, and then we were blowing our money on a whole bunch of shit, especially takeout food. But, so I had come to a talk with Lee a couple of times, and she was already telling me she was really unhappy with how the timeline was going. And I kept trying to, I don't know if she just didn't understand. I didn't know if she wasn't empathetic or what was going on. There was some miscommunication, or she just wasn't happy. It could have just been that what she was hoping would happen didn't happen, so she was upset. Mm-hmm. But either way, working this job, which now I feel so fucking validated at my new job for having this extreme stress response, but I was working basically 2 jobs. I would work practically fucking 12 hours a day at one, and then I'd come home and I'd do Trigger, which was like an online guidance counseling kind of thing for people with addictions and mental illness to get better. I would do that at night. Like, literally my shifts were from like midnight to 3 or 3 to 6 or, something crazy asinine. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm miserable. I'm not sleeping good. This job is so fucking hard. Not Trigger. Trigger was pretty easy and I really enjoyed it. But the main one that was giving me money, like real money, was too fucking hard. And I was like, if I can do this, then I need to just dedicate my time to this one.
And a big part, if I may interject, is if you don't know why I wasn't working, it makes total sense to just say, well, why isn't he working too, so that you don't have to work so hard?
Right.
And the main thing is I had communicated that I have disabilities, but they didn't believe me. They didn't accept it. They would ask me to do things that physically I couldn't do. And I remember the infamous talk I got from Lee of all the things you say you can't do, those are things you just won't do.
Yeah, they thought because you were, I think, I'm just assuming, but because you were so young, basically. Yeah. They were like, you're too young to have these problems.
Yeah. I'm too young and I don't have a fucking wheelchair, therefore clearly I'm not handicapped.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, it was a couple of bad talks before, and then I ended up telling her, I quit Trigger, and oh my fucking God.
On the same day we got pizza.
Because of course.
Yeah.
But we got pizza, and then Dad pulls me aside to give me a warning. He's like, listen, Lee is fucking upset. He's like, she's really upset. She's gonna talk to you. And I love you, but I have to support my wife in this. And I'm like, well, that's not fucking ominous.
Yeah.
So she comes home. It's like dead quiet as soon as she gets home. It's mucking up something bad, and then she comes down.
Storming down into the basement where we were.
She sits in the chair, and she's like, all right, we need to have a talk. And I was like, okay. And I can't even fully remember everything that was said. The point was...
I know one thing that was said, which is you told me to not say anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that.
Because I knew talking back was gonna make it so much fucking worse.
She didn't come down to listen. She came down to say her piece.
Yeah, she came down to vent. She came down to tell me where I was fucking up. And I knew if I was like, well, or, you know, if I said anything other than yes, ma'am, it was gonna get bad. Mm-hmm. And you did not fucking yes, ma'am.
No, because it's such a fucking problem for me. I can't smile and nod. It's because we hadn't yet had the long conversation we would have later when we started visiting houses of explaining exactly what that means. Because to me, what it felt like was it felt like you were two-facing everyone. That you would support me to me, and then when someone else would pop in, then they were right. And you know I have a big problem with that. A lot of people did that to me growing up. But what was really happening is this was just your survival technique. Smile and nod until we're out of these people's fucking house.
And then we'll deal with it when we're not dependent on them.
Yeah, because if they get mad, and I was very aware of this, I made reference to it in a video very vaguely of if they get pissed enough, they will kick me out. And that almost happened this night, but you continue the story.
She was like, I'm not happy. You are trying to save to get out of here. This is not the time to quit a fucking job to stop getting an income. And I mean, I can understand literally on paper, valid. If you need as much money as possible, why would you quit somewhere?
Yeah.
But that doesn't change everything that was going on. It wasn't changing that I was so stressed out I was crying myself to sleep. It was for the betterment of my health. And
you didn't make much money at it anyway.
No, I made only like $100 or something every 2 weeks.
Yeah. The problem always was, it was always surface level.
Yeah.
They just saw he's not working a lot. That means he's lazy. She's quitting a job. That means she's losing out a lot of money, and they had Chinese. That means they're spending money they should be saving. And they never asked.
It was also just that I had heard this before. I think this is a huge factor in it. But, Lee's friends, or at least she had told me before, that her friends were like, you can't let kids into the house because then they never leave. So I think to her, with you not working and then me suddenly quitting a job, she was worried maybe her friends were right and we were just, sticking down roots and we were going to be her problem forever. Yeah. That's not, again, surface level.
Other people's thoughts should definitely be your own.
Well, they fucking hype you up, they make you worry. But, anyway, it didn't go well. I'm fucking crying. And it was getting to kind of a resolution where she was like, I'm your mother. I love you. All that other kind of stuff. But you were like, this lady is sitting here screaming at my wife.
Yeah. Because literally it looked just like you were sitting there, head down and crying, and she's just standing above you or sitting there screaming at you. And then as soon as you start crying, she's saying, and I'm just looking out for you and reaching out to you. And that's such a manipulative fucking move to make you cry and then say that they will keep you from having to cry. Yeah. And so I spoke up.
Bad idea number one.
It was a bad idea, not because it was the wrong thing to do.
No, morally it was completely the right thing to do, and I still appreciated that you did it.
Yeah.
Even though it should not, it would have made everyone's life easier if you fucking didn't. I still appreciate it.
It wouldn't have made my life easier.
Right.
Because damn well I would have been fucked up.
You would have
been
boiling.
Yeah. Because she was doing it. And so what I started to say something, I referred to you as my wife, and she's like, she's your girlfriend. And I was like, oh, that's fucking nice. But the big blow up was addressing the whole thing of you don't ask. And
you didn't ask.
Yeah, at some point she said something. I don't remember what it was, but it was, she made a statement that was not true. And I said quietly, you don't ask, or you didn't ask.
And she thought
I called her a dumbass.
In her own fucking house.
Yeah.
And both of us were like, that is not what he fucking said. And she was exploded. She was like, "You're gonna call me a fucking dumbass, and then you're gonna pretend like I didn't just hear you say that." And I was like, "No, he didn't fucking say that."
And
So,
she stood over me and screamed in my face like she had any kind of fucking right to.
but later on, shortly after that, she went upstairs and I
And
was
got a
like,
Sprite.
well, I thought she was gonna get Dad at first, and I'm like, "We're fucked. That's it. We're kicked out. It's done. It's over." And later on, she told me, yeah, she was about to get my dad, and then had a Sprite instead, and rethought it.
Yeah.
So
She genuinely believes she could have just kicked me out and kept you. Which we had discussed prior, which is kind of one of the reasons why I had the confidence in it, was if I got kicked out,
we would kick out together.
Yeah, you would come with me.
Of course, I love you.
Yeah. But she thought...
You were replaceable.
Yeah. And she's made many comments to the effect.
Yeah. I think she thought at some point you were getting in between me and her or something. She made a comment similar to, "I won't let him get in between us." And I was like, that seems kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't...
Yeah, she said that this is what, like, it was a phone call that I was upstairs. This is later on, mind you, but I was upstairs waiting to tutor the daughter of one of Lee's friends.
Uh-huh.
And she came in, didn't know I was right there, and was on the phone. And I'm not trying to pay attention because I don't like eavesdropping, but she talks really loudly. So even my deaf ass couldn't fucking... And she was saying, like, this is what happens when you attach yourself to someone who is bad for you, and, just shit-talking me, and, like, I'm going to make...
faith in the wrong person.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure I'll be here when she realizes what I've been telling her the whole time is true. And I'm thinking, wow, whoever she's talking about is a real piece of shit.
It was me.
Then she said my name.
Yeah.
And then your name. And I couldn't believe it. I got the shakes. You weren't home. I got the fucking shakes.
You texted me, and I was seething at work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't fucking take this home. I can't let this be the blow up. We're so fucking close to getting a house.
Yeah.
I think at this point we were like literally going and seeing places.
Yes, we were. We saw some shit places, but they wouldn't let us not.
Yeah. And then, we had two places that were really promising. One that was ready to take us, and then they couldn't because spoofs breed. I said that he was a husky mix, and they were like, "We don't allow huskies."
Is that the one that was right? Oh, which one was that?
That one was the one where it was like this really fancy place with a big patio and like a pool. It was like a big community kind of place.
Oh, like the apartment complex. Yeah.
And then the other place, which I'm glad we didn't get it now with the space, but also, God, I still loved that fucking kitchen and everything. But another one in...
The kitchen?
Yeah, the kitchen.
This is the place without the oven?
What? No!
No, not that place.
No, not that place. Oh, that's a third place.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one that we couldn't get because somebody paid for like the whole year in advance.
Oh, was that That
was the one up north.
Up north?
Yeah, and then like we couldn't get
parking
for
it. Yeah. Oh my God, there was this great fucking apartment building.
We had our own little deck and a place.
A deck.
Yeah, first floor sliding doors.
And then someone came in and paid for an entire year in cash.
And he was gonna go with us too before that.
He was gonna, but then he got a wad full of cash and thought, well, I'm not gonna question this.
And I was like, that is a drug person.
Yeah, that was
or something really shady.
Right.
Who just shows up to you and he's like, I have $12,000 cash. Yeah. No, bitch.
There was also another place that was around the corner where they had a basement and the bedrooms were upstairs. It was kind of nice but kind of small. There was also that drafty ass old building that was like
lots of space, multiple rooms, cheap rent, but
it was drafty in a bad neighborhood. A lot of the windows were broken, and it was about to fall over. Like, oh my Christ!
And then, the tiny place,
yeah,
which
that fucking like attic.
Oh God, that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one without a stove now.
Oh yeah, this one without a stove. It had a garage and a driveway, and it's right around the corner from here.
And it would have been really easy to put a fence up there.
Oh yeah, nice square yard.
Yeah, and multiple neighbors already had fencing, so
Yeah.
like it would have been cheap for us to just be like bap bap.
Yeah, but we'd have to rent laundry machines and an oven because
Yeah.
they took the fucking oven.
Yeah, they didn't have an oven. I don't even think they had a fridge.
No, they had a fridge. They just didn't have the oven.
Okay. But either way, so you and me were both like, oh, this place is actually pretty good. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do this. Think of the way we can fix it up. Spoof's going to have a whole fenced in yard. We were so ready. And then they didn't take us because we made like $100 less than 3 times the rent.
Yep. But that same realtor, great guy, found us this place.
Yep.
And
God bless him.
Yeah.
But, and now this place is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't imagine us living anywhere else.
Oh, man. And so, yeah, we finally got this place squared away.
We moved out the day we could.
Oh,
We got this place. The next day they were like, all right, you can go here to pick up your keys. But you probably won't be able to move in until the 1st, or at least that's when our lease started. And we went in there, signed everything, put together the utilities in the office, and got the U-Haul truck that fucking day.
Yeah, like we both took time away from work to do it.
Yep.
Because at this point I had become a manager at a different GameStop, and you were out on a visit, quote unquote.
Makes it sound like I'm cheating on you.
No, you were cheating on your work.
Yeah.
But yeah, we fucking we got everything settled immediately, and like that night I went to the store and bought boxes, and we packed all night, and we got out. We moved out. We finished unpacking Christmas morning, like at 3 a.m.
And Lee and Dad could not believe how we were out there so fast. They were like, "Oh, thank goodness you have a place." Like as soon as we had gotten a place and we're like, "Yeah, we got it. We're gonna move in." It was immediately a lot like, "Oh, good." You know, they were a lot happier with us. I think even if we stayed, it wouldn't have been so bad. But the point is that me and you were fed up. We were like, "That's great. We're glad you're happy. We're gonna go." Like,
yeah, I was straight up like the last time I got actually close to committing suicide was in that basement.
Yeah. And we fucking went. We packed, and Lee was even like, "Wait, you've got everything? You've got utilities? I'm like, "Yep." We were going so fast. She thought we were moving into like a dark house with nothing connected. And I'm like, "Nope. We've got everything. We're done. We're fucking taking everything apart. We're going."
Turns out we are adults.
Stop.
What do you mean stop?
We finished unpacking here at like 3 a.m. Christmas morning. And then finally around 5 or 7 we got the bed put together.
We had to take the U-Haul truck back.
Yeah, we were fucking exhausted and
raining.
yelling at each other.
It was bad.
But we got everything put together, and then we went back to my parents' house for Christmas.
Yeah, we slept, took showers, and then went back there, and like immediately it was clear it was better, but still like, fuck you guys. Like,
it was a little tense.
It was tense, like, because we took a shower, and context here,
oh my God.
Your dad and Lee, but mostly your dad, put the fucking elbow grease into that basement because it was unfinished. And so both of them helped clean it up and put in stuff. They were putting up drywall, painting it. Like the day we showed up, the night before, that was the day that the drywall was drying, the paint was drying. We came, he
MacGyvered
the shit out of the basement. He turned because I saw what would become the bathroom down there. It was literally just like a fucking cement room. Like it was just like a drain in the floor. And he put the tile in. He put in a bathroom and a shower that was especially big. Not particularly finished in a lot of ways, but they didn't have a lot of time and money to throw at it. They were doing what they could in spare time and spare money. You still with me? Okay.
Yeah.
But he was really proud of that shower, and he still really enjoys that shower. But when we got done, we had not showered in a while, and we had just done like a full fuck day's worth of hard work.
Sweaty and gross.
So we showered here and then went over there, and one of us made the comment that
it was you. The shower pressure was really good.
Yeah, the shower. I didn't say the pressure. I just said the shower was really nice.
Yeah.
And your dad did not think, oh, probably, the shower after doing a long day's work. Yeah. Now he thought, well, fuck you. I put a lot of work into that shower.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude.
He was like, what's wrong with my shower? And we were like, Dad.
What the fuck? Not everything's about you, Bob.
I think it was partially a joke, but I do think...
He was day drinking. It wasn't a joke.
Oh, God. But, yeah. And then I think I clarified. I was like, no, the pressure... The shower pressure, at least for me,
I don't remember that. But yeah, now it is, we've been over there a couple of times since, and it has kind of gone back to what it was beforehand, because the main thing I've learned is these people don't want to be disrupted.
Yeah.
They have the thing they're doing, and whatever inconveniences them is the devil. And public perception, especially to Lee, is very important.
Yeah.
So when it's a holiday, she's very much about keep it nice, keep it good. But it's her definition of nice and good.
And my dad and you kind of are similar in the sense that you don't give a damn how things look.
Yeah. And, oh, God.
Especially when my dad is doing a little bit of holiday drinking. Mm-hmm. He can get really kind of sour. My dad's very old-fashioned. So, like, if you come over for Christmas, you come over for Christmas. You don't come over to play on your phone.
Yeah. And there's a part of me that agrees with the sentiment of it, because when I see some of the kids that come over and they bring their laptop and they set up in the bedroom and they do all that.
Yeah, that's a little shitty.
It annoys me, but then I remember, when I would go to some family gatherings and I would get, pushed into the kitchen where the computer was at my Uncle Greg and Aunt Gina's house, because they knew that would keep me quiet. Because if I wasn't there, I'd be in amongst the adults annoying them. And they wanted to get...
And it can be awkward.
Yeah. And so there's this will keep you quiet. And a lot of parenting revolves around the phrase, this will keep you quiet.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it fucking happens. At some point, you need a goddamn mental breath. Fuck me!
Well, if you insist. A mental breather.
Yes. So, yeah, there's a part of me that's like, why the fuck did you come over here to play on your computer? But at the same time, I'm not going to fucking yell at a kid because, one, not my kid. Two, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're not bothering me. I'm not bothering them.
Yeah. And, especially, I don't think I want to super name names, but Lee's best friend, who is the mother of those children, she is usually really fucking diehard about this is your computer time, this is not. She's very good with that kind of thing. But, holidays, the kids get a little extra time.
Yeah.
So I can understand from a kid's point of view, literally, if it's like, well, this is my only fucking time to play my game, why would I not bring it to my uncle's house? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's when I was a kid, I didn't give a shit about talking to my family.
Yeah.
I don't care. What I wanted to do was have food and enjoy the games sometimes. Games, not the game. I didn't care about football, but I wanted to enjoy that. But when everyone would sit there and chat, which is what we're doing now, and I love chatting now, but back then I could not have hated something more. I remember one time I got so fed up with it, I went out and sat in the car for hours. I didn't have a Game Boy. I just sat there being mad that I had to be with my family.
It's also like when you're a kid on Christmas, you only really want the toys.
Yeah.
And then I think back in Christmas where my grandma's giving me awesome socks and pajamas, and I'm like, ooh, great clothes. And then now that I'm an adult, I'm like, God, fuck kid me. Those pajamas were dope,
Yeah.
Like, if somebody was like, Merry Christmas, I got you a Nerf gun, I'd be like, that's pretty cool. But if somebody was like, Merry Christmas, I got you some awesome fucking sweater socks, I'd be like, yeah!
Yeah, now. But that's the thing, is like when you're a kid, you want to have fun.
Yeah.
And clothes, if you have the ability, should be stuff bought throughout the year. Christmas should be for the special shit that you don't buy all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And you can't buy toys all the fucking time.
Granted, again, as you put in a disclaimer.
Oh, yeah.
Because trust me, I grew up poor as shit, and on those poor as fuck days when we didn't have any presents under the tree, and I got like a CD or like some socks or some new pants, it was Christmas came, my man.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
really happy.
I had those Christmases myself, man.
But like middle class kind of Christmas where your parents can afford to usually get you toys and that's what you expect.
Yeah.
Then as a kid, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, so we forgot one of the big moments.
What?
The family talk. So, like I mentioned, back when we were living with your folks,
Can I actually, before we segue into this, I want to add one more thing about the holiday thing.
Sure thing.
I was just going to reiterate that Dad's old-fashioned, all that kind of stuff. What he really looks for in the holiday is how me, him, and Justin and Lee used to spend holidays. Because unlike Christmas, we'd all be together watching a movie, having fun with our new toys. And I think especially because, like, me and my brother are very often not at his house at the same time, and that can really upset him because he is very family driven.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he craves. So now, especially with him not being like technologically, savvy, it's kind of like, not only are my kids not enjoying shit like we used to, like feeling isolated in that way, it's everyone's more interested in technology than they are Steve. So it's almost like the world is moving on without him. You know what I'm saying?
Which it is if you're not keeping up on things. But yeah, he just wants a return to what he enjoyed.
And that was personal time. Yeah.
So yeah,
but anyway, the family talk. Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, something that I wanted, like, the day after we first settled in, I was like, all right, we should all sit down and go over. And generally, I would say beforehand. Because in the times where I had discussed possibly moving in with someone, I was like, all right, we need to talk about stuff before we get there. Like, what do you want this? What are your household rules? Yada, yada.
That would have fucking helped, but we didn't have the time.
Yeah. So what I fucking wanted was, like, immediately, I wanted to do all these things, but no one would do it. Yeah. Because what was happening, and I didn't get it at the time, was everyone already thought it happened. So no one thought it was necessary because you thought that you had established what we wanted. They thought they had established what they wanted. Everyone thought they agreed to what the other one wanted.
And then when plans didn't go as planned, everyone was disappointed. Because especially when it took me like a month to get a job. I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah. And because like I said, the day we moved stuff into the truck down in Ottawa, which was a couple days before we left, I set up an interview.
Yep.
The day after we moved in, I went to that interview, and that would be the job I got, but because of technical problems, it got delayed a long time.
Yeah.
And we both were applying to a bunch of places, but we were untested. We had weird specifications. I had a handicap mark on my fucking application. And so, like, no one was calling me back. And you were trying to find a place that actually worked, but it looked like we weren't doing anything because we didn't keep their hours, so we were up all night, and they associate that with people who are irresponsible. But really, we just have semi-nocturnal hours. Like right now, it's fucking 11:13.
Yeah.
And I'm only now starting to feel tired.
And I think that's mostly just because you've been talking all day.
Yeah, I recorded a video diary, one podcast, and doing another right now.
But anyway, family talk. We figured we'll all get this out in the open because this was post blow up.
Yeah, We had finally been there for a while. Tensions had boiled over a couple times, but finally, I think Lee approached you and said, "Let's all get together in the kitchen, in the dining room, and have a family talk." And I was so excited. I was like, "Finally, we can all just put everything out there in a constructive and well-intentioned forum for everyone to hear what everyone wants to say, and we'll all discuss it in a constructive." That didn't happen.
It happened for the first 5 minutes, and then Dad was like, "Why the fuck are we pussyfooting?" And it went.
And that's the thing, is I have a huge sympathy for your dad, because he really feels like someone who doesn't get to say what he feels. He constantly complains about people not saying what they mean and all this other stuff, which is ironic because he doesn't communicate well.
Either that, not saying what they mean, people not taking his feelings into account, or people basically telling him, which he has been told his whole life, it doesn't fucking matter how you feel, you get this done and you shut up about it.
Yeah, that's the way he was raised, by abuse.
Yeah. And partly, it's like an internal struggle, because on one hand, he wants people to know his feelings, but it's to a point where he doesn't know how to really express himself properly verbally.
Yeah.
And when he does, he gets very excited and I think maybe scared. I don't know.
All I know is there were a couple times where he would start to verbally criticize me, and he would be shushed.
Yeah.
And I would say that it was okay, and I would use the phrase, "I appreciate your honesty," which I would later find out he found condescending.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely appreciated his honesty, and I really wanted him to feel like he could tell me these things, because that's what I believe in. If you have a problem, say it in a constructive manner. Don't put it off, because that's how you get to rants.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so when he started to go in, I said, like, I want you to feel like you can say these things without me getting pissed off about it. But then he got pissed off.
Yeah, and then he was like, "BriAnna's doing all the work. I'm fucking proud of you, but you," pointing to you, "you need to get a fucking job or whatever."
Real fucking job.
A real fucking job. That's what he said, and that did not fucking go well. What was that, like barely a week before we started really looking into places or something like that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, and
that went so poorly. We were like, "Fuck it."
Oh yeah, and I fucking, the pointing and screaming was bad, and then what made it just that much worse was Lee afterwards pretending like she cared about the fact that I have mental health problems by leaning over and be like, "Are you okay? Are you handling this well?"
Right.
I'm like, "No, I'm not, because you didn't listen to me and you just screamed at me and made me out to be the fucking devil."
Honestly, like, seeing those instances, can you not blame me for not taking screaming well? Like,
yeah,
especially when you're a little kid. Like, it's bad enough when when you're an adult and somebody's standing over you, but when you're a little fucking kid.
Yeah. And so I absolutely feel you. And I mean, that's how I was raised. My dad was a screamer too, and he became physically violent at times.
God, I pray we never become like that.
Oh yeah, we need to keep an eye on each other.
Yeah.
Because but yeah, we both suffered a lot. We cried a lot, and it wasn't good for us as a relationship, because I felt like I had no support, and you felt like I was making it worse.
Yeah. And we just weren't really understanding. Like you said, it wasn't until we had practically moved in here. Yeah. And even then, it was after we moved in here, I think, where we seriously had to sit down.
Well, because we couldn't even talk in that basement.
Yeah.
Because they could hear everything, and we could hear everything too. And I heard some fucking shit, man. But
I love my parents, and I like how we get along a lot better now that we can leave.
Yeah.
And all that other kind of stuff. It is, at least I believe, a lot better, but at the same time, both sides of my family are sweep it under the ruggers.
Yeah.
They're people who, well, this went wrong. The best thing we can do is just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And, like, you came face to face with that a couple of times, because when you really hurt Lee before we even moved up here, I asked you to, call and apologize. And you did. But she didn't even answer you. And then when you got up here and you brought it up again, she was like, water under the bridge. And it's not, though.
No, it's not. And for the record, how I hurt her was her hurting me and then me not liking it. The shortened version is your dad accidentally let Spoof run out of the fucking back door when we came up to visit for Christmas.
Or was it the front door?
It was the back door.
Oh, okay.
And it was raining. I'm in flip-flops and I am handicapped. So I'm trying and failing to run after Spoof, who I was panicking because he was running like towards the road and shit. And he's in neighbors' yards. So I go into full fucking manic, just screaming and swearing, like begging someone to fucking help me. And the best I got was Lee coming out on the front porch after I was like 5 actual houses down. Her just being like, Spoofy, Spoofy. And then...
Well, yeah, because with their dogs, they're pretty well trained. They think, if you just call him, he'll come. But
well, yeah, they're also tiny fuck dogs.
Spoof, especially at this point, he was in a completely new surrounding. Even if he did come when he was called, which he didn't do that then, which now he does, because he came as soon as you actually said,
yeah.
Hi, Buffy, you're okay, good boy. But, before it was such a new area, he wasn't fucking interested in anything we had to say.
He was overwhelmed, and the only reason I caught him is because he had a harness that had a handle on the back.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I was able to catch him, because otherwise I would not have been able to.
Yeah.
Because he kept running at me and then dodging around and all this other stuff, and then he'd lose interest and keep going. So literally that chance luck 1 in 100 fucking grab finally got him.
And
if
he
I
wasn't
had
chipped or anything.
No, he could have gotten hit by a fucking car, and the result would have been the same afterwards, which was that your folks did not appreciate that I was screaming and swearing in their neighbors' yards, and they took my saying, motherfuckers help me, personally, because they're like, you called us motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, you fucking knew I needed help and did nothing. And they got mad at me. They got so mad at me that Lee spoke to you and was like, does he talk to you like that? Like, to you? Like, fuck. Does he talk like that to you at home? And that would be a recurring theme about them. We don't like how he talks to you. Yeah, I swear. And I'm loud. I'm kind of deaf.
And another thing is you and me have argumentative insult humor.
Yeah.
So, like,
But you wouldn't do that around your folks.
I wouldn't do that around my folks. But it made it hard in translation because I'd be like, oh, I told him to take out the trash, and he was like, get fucked, and like, it was funny, and I was smiling and laughing telling her, and then she'd be like, oh, that's terrible. Like, she would take it real serious. So now,
and she would play it up too, because she wasn't open about it, but it was true that she wanted you to think I was the fucking worst thing ever.
She was very uncomfortable with our relationship, and that made talking about things that I found hilarious, it didn't go well. She wasn't comfortable with it. And I was like, oh,
every excuse to make me the fucking worst.
And I feel bad because, like, I it wasn't my intention, but I did feed into it quite a bit.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I really wanted it to work too. Because when we first came up to visit on Halloween, I brought a pie. They were really warm and welcoming. That first Halloween, like the actual day, when we got back, that's when I knew that there was a problem. Yeah. That's when I knew. I didn't know what the problem was exactly, but I knew something was wrong. And that these were not... I didn't... Like I said, I didn't know exactly what was wrong. And we won't go into what happened. But, yeah, that proved that these were not the smiling, happy, we're glad you're here troop.
But like I said, we're here now.
Yes, we finally got in.
As soon as we really had the house to ourselves, it seemed like everything got better.
It was.
I mean, we were still struggling a little bit financially. Not so... We were making plenty of our bills, But it was a new adjustment, and at least for me, when I first move in, I have serious anxiety the first couple of months because I'm like, what if something fucks up?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
we're in a new place. We're now, after, being in this place for almost an entire year.
Yeah, been in here for 8 months.
Yeah. Now I'm just like, yeah, no, we're good. We're fine. We can keep on top of things. We have been keeping on top of things. Even through a pandemic. We ain't missed a bill.
Yeah.
And we're very privileged in that, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're currently struggling through the pandemic, I fucking feel you, and I want to burn down the fucking government. Because what the fuck? But, you know
fucking
what?
Senate's on break until September.
That's all... I don't want to get into it, because I'll get too fucking mad. I'll suffice it to say, this year, more than any other year that I have lived through, just proves how the government isn't here for the people. They're fucking not.
But you're just a brainwashed dummy crap.
A dummy crap. Oh my god. But anyway, we got into the house. We've slowly decorated it, and we've made things work, and...
Even when I got sent home because my store got closed and then fired, because GameStop can suck a dick, even after that, we're still fine. Like, you got a new job that you love way more than your old one. I re-injured my back, but now I'm getting better. I'm on Medicaid now, so we're getting medical care.
We're getting a money boost, enough that you can actually stay home.
Yeah, and
not to say it's like the most glorious money boost, but
yeah, we're not fucking living high on the hog here, but every bill's getting paid, and we're fine.
And we have a little left over for gas.
Yeah, well, we're only spending a little gas.
Yeah,
I ain't going anywhere but the store.
But things are really good now.
We moved up here to get close to your family. And how did that go?
Went great. Everything's perfect.
You want to leave it at that?
Definitely nothing bad happened.
Is that what
Especially not today.
Oh, God.
Why would I lie to anybody? Okay. The family. Chapter 2.
Yeah, because we spent a lot of time talking about you're being at odds with your dad and your stepmom.
Yeah.
What about your mom's side of the family? Which, by the way, none of this applies to your mom because your mom's
my mother's incredible. Yeah. I am so lucky to have her, and I learned this more and more. But so my mom's side of the family, my cousins, I was so excited to meet them. And be around them more. And it was already a little kind of fucky just because I am extremely introverted. I think I might be the biggest introvert in the family, second to my mom. Mm-hmm. Maybe first to my mom. I don't know. So I'm not someone who's really good at answering and keeping up and all that other kind of stuff. And if you guys hate friends like that, I get you, because sometimes it do be like that. I won't talk to someone for like a year, and then I'll be like, hey, you know. I'm not someone who requires a lot of social interaction. In most cases, all I do is type people. I can go a solid year without seeing anyone at all in person. Yeah. And I can go...
You can't go a day without seeing me.
No, of course not. I wouldn't want to. But, like, I can go months without actually talking to people in any sense. Yeah. And it doesn't bother me. I'm just like, cool, I got a Stardew Valley or some shit, you know? Yeah. I am very low social maintenance, and that works great with my also so low social maintenance friends, but not so great for my family, which they're on a huge spectrum. Some are really big extroverts, and they're ready to go all the time. And some are a little bit more like me, and typically those are the cousins I'm better hang out with, or if I don't talk to them for a long time, they're just happy to hear from me when I do.
Trying to figure out where you're going with this.
What I'm going with this is my relationship with my family and its foundations didn't go as I hoped to begin with. not that it was super horribly bad. I was like, this is just going to take a lot more social effort than I planned for. And that's just on me. Again, introverted.
Yeah.
However, then being more near my family, I found out that a couple of the most predominant members have, shall we say, distasteful views.
They're racist.
Yeah, they actually legitimately are. And racism in our family isn't exactly new, but it was always something kind of hid under the bed.
Yeah, because the most egregious examples that at least I can remember are in reference to your niece. I won't say her name because she's a minor, and also to your mom, because you quiet spoof.
And one of my cousins.
Yeah, because your mom is half Puerto Rican, and you are a quarter Puerto Rican.
Quarter.
And no, it's good. But because of that, your mom and you were treated differently.
Not so much me, because I look white.
That is true.
I have the Berg's blue eyes. I have the Berg's white skin.
But you got a Puerto Rican ass.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do, hunty. And like now, I think it's getting just a little bit worse because especially growing up, I look just like my fucking father. But now I'm starting to look a lot more like my mother. Mm-hmm. Which I'm very happy of, because my mother is probably the most beautiful woman in the world to me. But it doesn't change the fact that, yeah, even growing up, Mom would get treated a little harshly by the family. But there was never a, oh, it's because she's Puerto Rican. It was usually, Angela's so fucking lazy, or Angela isn't making the right decisions, or, all the other...
all the synonyms, the code words.
Yeah, but as a kid, you don't think they're code words.
No.
You're just like, oh, well, my mom doesn't do dishes, so I guess so. Like,
yeah.
But there were specific family members who were just blatantly racist. Not only to my mother, but to other family members, calling them slurs. Mm-hmm. And at the time as a kid, like I said, you don't really recognize that's fully wrong. You're just like, oh, some people talk like that, some people don't.
Yeah.
And I never, as a kid, really said slurs or participated in that kind of thing.
But as established, you were raised under a don't fucking rock the boat mentality.
Exactly. So I wasn't speaking up about it either. And the only glimpse I got that it was wrong was one of my aunts who had a half Hispanic son. That same family member was calling him slurs. And my aunt was like, don't talk to my fucking child that way.
Yeah.
Do not do that. That is wrong. He is your grandson. Mm-hmm. And, spoiler alert, that family member was that aunt's father.
Yeah.
But, and then after seeing that exchange, I was like, well, wait. And a couple more, as I grew up more, I saw it not only more directly towards my mother, but it also affected me. Because I would go to these, because my mom always wanted me to go to the best school. She didn't care what she had to do. Mm-hmm. So she got me into this really good school that was predominantly white. And the part of it is that first couple of days, great, fine, no issues, making friends, playing with kids on the playground. Later on in the week, one of the kids saw my mother drop me off, and my mother has a darker skin tone. Mm-hmm. And I kissed her goodbye and everything else. And once it came out that my mother was brown, even if it's a really fucking light brown,
a lot of those friends faded away.
No one played with me.
Yep.
Not a person. And they would say terrible shit to me. And like as a kid, I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't really know what to do. Like, do I go to a teacher? But then I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
I learned that from my own family. When someone treats you like shit, if you want to stay nice with them, you just pretend it doesn't happen. But that doesn't fucking work with bullies.
No.
And that was, it started just to become a more staunch reality. So let's, of course, I moved in with my grandmother. It's when I started living in Ottawa, Kansas, where I started to legitimately become more fucking intolerant. I would give in to the stereotypes, and...
The place does it to you.
It really fucking does.
That's not saying everyone in Kansas is a racist, but I often refer to Kansas as 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a fucking older culture there where things that are not okay were just commonplace.
Yeah. And, it got to the point... I was dating someone who was kind of fucking racist. When they found out I was Puerto Rican, they're like, man, I would want you to be anything but that. Anything.
God.
And at the time, I wasn't like, well, fuck you. I was like, yeah, it's not great that I'm Puerto Rican.
Oh.
It was really... But it's just,
You were trained to think that way.
And I was also being abused by them in multiple ways. So it's not like it was a very unhealthy cocktail soup.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until really college, of course, when a lot of my classmates weren't white and I met way more Puerto Rican people. Hell, one of my friends that I really enjoyed and I hung out with, Christina, she was from Puerto Rico, the island.
Mm-hmm.
So she was able to tell me all about it, and I became so much more proud of my culture and of diversity, and I had to question these shitty things in myself. And my teacher at one point was like, all right, I'm going to hold up a list of different ethnicities, and you tell me how comfortable you would be with them in your family. Where, like, 1 is completely comfortable married in, and then, like, a 5 is don't even fucking come near me. And for, like, no reason, some of them were, like, 3s, where it's like, you can be my friend, but I don't want you marrying in.
Ooh.
And I had to sit at that paper and ask myself a lot of really fucking hard questions.
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly, before college, I could have easily, if I had stayed in Ottawa, Kansas, I could have easily seen myself become, like, a really shitty, racist Trump supporter. Like, the worst absolute class of them.
Yeah.
That could have been me. Hell, even when I was in high school, I would make shitty comments like, yeah, women shouldn't have the right to vote. I don't want to vote. So, like, we just belong in kitchens. I would love for a man to just take care of me and, I get to stay at home with the kids. What a fucking blessing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And, or, like, we had this in politics once. I think it was when, Obama was being elected the first time.
2008.
Yeah, maybe it was the second time. But the point is, I was like, you know what? Fucking all of these politicians are stupid. We should get someone really cool that we identify with in there, like a celebrity. Like, we should get in, like, Johnny Depp or, like, Donald Trump.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I swear to God, I speak nightmares into existence.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But that's the kind of person I grew up to be in high school. And I learned better, and I had to really confront these shitty things I believed.
You mean you got brainwashed by the liberal elite?
By the Democrats.
You got injections of...
I'm a communist now.
Yeah.
That was something I also starchly believed in high school, hilariously, was communism. And then after college, I stopped fucking believing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or thinking it had any, like, super merit. But I think that's always funny when somebody's like, you go to college and you become a communist. And I'm like, actually, I went to college and I stopped being one.
Yeah. Now I'm a socialist.
Now I'm a socialist. For some people, there's no difference.
Yeah, those people didn't go to college.
Maybe. There were some kids that I was learning with in college who were, juniors and all that kind of stuff. And they still also believed really terrible things. Damn. I think it's not only going to college. I think you have to have a certain open mind.
Yeah.
or you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to really analyze your own behavior, and it's not fucking easy to do.
No, and the thing is if you are someone to cling to intolerance, being around a lot of stimulus that to an open-minded person would increase your diversity, that comes across like an onslaught of attacks.
Yeah.
Because it's a bunch of things that are telling you that the way you were raised was wrong. Yeah. And if you ain't someone that wants to take kindly to that, then you ain't gonna take kindly to that. So people either go to college and become enlightened, or they become enhardened.
Yeah. And so I've kept on this track. That's not to say that I don't have like biases, and sometimes I find myself still thinking shitty things.
You gotta unlearn things. People aren't born a racist, you're raised
even
a
like
racist.
That slip we had the fucking like the last podcast, I said like Ottawa Indians instead of Ottawa Native Americans. That's one of them. That's fucking one.
And you
of
didn't
them.
even notice.
I didn't. Yeah, I'm so used to saying natives or Native Americans that the fact that I said that, it didn't even fucking register. But it doesn't change the fact it's in there.
Yeah.
So it's something that you really have to keep on top of. And when you fuck up and you make mistakes, you can't be like, whatever, everyone's against me anyway, I'm just gonna shut down. I did my part.
That's what a kid does. So it's childish.
I know, and I get the frustration though.
Oh yeah, no one likes to feel like everything they do is wrong.
Or that everything they've learned is terrible.
Yeah, because you learned it from somebody, and that somebody you thought was right.
Yeah.
And that they were good.
So
apparently not.
So I've noticed these same themes with a lot of family members that I care very fucking deeply for. And today, that really culminated because one of the people who had the most hands-on experience with raising me, my mother's mother, my grandmother, she called me like a snowflake. And I was like, okay, that's weird and inappropriate. Mostly because it was on a friend's post.
Yeah. She wasn't even part of the conversation. She just popped in and called you a snowflake.
Me and my friend were talking about the latest fucking racism debacle, and it was going pretty well, I thought.
Yeah.
And then she came in and she was like, you snowflake. And I was like, well, that seemed really weird and out of the blue. So I, instead of saying anything to her online, I called her first. And I was like, hey, that snowflake comment, what was that about?
Yeah.
And she started immediately with like the insults. Because a couple of times she said some really shitty things, and then I've been like, do you really believe that? And she's like, no, they're just jokes. But I was starting to get the hint.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is the punchline if that's a joke?
Or, okay, but it's not a joke I'm comfortable with, so...
Maybe don't.
Maybe tone it down. I get I'm one person, but, you know.
Yeah.
So she started in with, like, the insults where she was like, you're just such a fucking liberal now, it's ridiculous. And this is the same woman who she was so diehard liberal and Democrat when I was growing up, especially in high school. She didn't really appreciate me bringing my Republican friends over.
Yeah. Because
she saw them as, you know, the party that mistreats people and values dollars and corporations over actual people.
Which they are. I mean, she was, what named Sunflower at some point?
Yeah, it was just Flower. She was part of the hippie movement, and her name was Flower. But I was like, yeah... I learned that from you, literally. I was like, this is what you've always taught me.
I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from watching you.
And she was like, well, clearly, in my old age, I fucking wisened up. Or she didn't say fucking. Bear with me, because I am still feeling a lot of hurt in this, so I might exaggerate a couple of things. But she was like, so I've wisened up. And I'm like, it doesn't seem like wisening, because... you mostly share a lot of untrue shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, it feels more like someone is speaking in your ear, you know, telling you what to think. Sorry. I need like a drink or something. My throat's really...
I got you. So I keep the jug of water around.
The jug.
The jig. And for the I came home. I was out shopping, and we were planning on recording this podcast that we're doing now, like 5 hours ago, almost 6 hours ago. And I came home, was about to say, "Oh, guess what?"
In the middle of me yelling with her.
Yeah, I came home at that, and that's why we're doing this now.
So she gets in about the actual, like, it turns into a racial argument. And I'm not going to say specifically what she said, but it was really heinous racist shit where she just stereotyped an entire class of people of being terrible and violent.
And dirty.
And dirty. And the problem with that is that, one, it was black people, and I have a niece, her granddaughter, who is black.
Yeah.
And I was like, you cannot seriously tell me these things when my niece is a black woman, well, a black girl right now. She's underage, as we said. You think that shit applies to her? I couldn't fucking believe what was coming out of her mouth. And she made the excuse of, well, somebody's at my door, I gotta go. I'll call you later. So I waited a while, and then I called her later, and I didn't get an answer. And I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I ain't playing your games.
I'm not playing these games!
Yeah.
But, so I called her, and I was like, if this is what you truly believe, do not speak to me anymore. I'm done. I'm not interested in having any type of relationship with a racist. I'm really fucking not.
Yeah.
So, after that exchange, I think I called my mother first.
Yes.
I called my mother directly after because I was incredibly upset. And my mother, granted, we're talking about her mother right now. My half Puerto Rican's mother. When she heard what my grandmother said, she was fucking floored. She couldn't believe it. She was like, your grandmother? And I was like, yes. My mother? Yes. And we were both just fucking reeling. We were like, how in the world?
Yeah, and even when you told me about all this, I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It was totally just as if she was a stranger.
Yeah. Total fucking puppet.
And my mom was like, okay, I'm going to call her and you're going to get a fucking apology. And I was like, okay, just, I don't want her to get mad at you, but okay. And mom was like, I probably won't call her today. I'll wait. But I was like, all right. So I went on my good old Facebook because I'm friends with multiple family members, and my grandmother is friended with a couple of my other friends on there on Facebook.
Yeah.
So it was a message to her and the family and anyone that I knew who had contact with her, which I knew they would see on Facebook, that I called my grandmother. She said this terrible shit. Do not try to third-party talk to me, for her. I'm not interested in speaking with her at this time. And if she needs to talk to me, she has my number. But otherwise, fucking no go, it's done. Mm-hmm. I said way more. I typed way more. And it was probably put a bit more eloquently than I just did. Yeah. But the point is, oh my God.
Yeah.
First, I got a lot of support and a lot of people who were empathetic. Like, man, holy shit, it really sucks when our family members act this way. But drawing the line is probably the best thing you can do. Yeah. A couple of my cousins came on and they were like, we feel you. We've been fighting with this same thing. Ultimately, you can't really change people. It's up to them. But if anyone, can make change in the family, you/we can do it. And I was like, great. Awesome. Glad to know my cousins are still good.
Yeah. It ain't infected them yet.
And mostly that they've been through these arguments before, which I wasn't really aware of until now.
It's always good to know that you have backup in the foxhole.
Right. And then those other family members came up.
Uh-huh.
And it was all about how I was ungrateful and how dare I, and I'm putting this out on public, and it's a family matter, and
She bought you shoes.
She bought you shoes. It should be handled privately. She raised you. And my responses were basically, we're not hiding racists behind closed doors anymore. This is how I can talk to everyone in her social circle and mine, which are linked, to this is a fight we're having, and to not, be the messenger owl between us. I want her to come to me. And if you say racist shit and the community's gonna rise up against you, that should fucking happen.
Yeah.
You do not get to hide behind consequences because it's a quote-unquote family matter. That's how racists and abusers and pedophiles and families, unfortunately, they use that tactic of, well, it's a family member. You can't tell the whole world, to get away with that shit.
Yeah, the Catholic Church can get away with it. Fucking, wait, no family ain't.
Yeah. Also, to make it clear, I am thankfully very lucky that there are no, pedophiles in my family.
That you know of.
True, that I know of at this point. But I'm glad that I don't know of them yet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact not a lot of my friends, but enough of my friends have said, yeah, I've had a family member who was incredibly inappropriate. And they use the same thing where it's like, well, I want to go to the police. I want to tell someone. And they said, it's a family member. You don't want it out there like that. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at this point, if you are worried about the family being painted in a negative light to the community, that should fucking tell you something.
Yeah.
That it's wrong.
Yeah.
So you need to abandon those principles. And it went on and on and on and on. And it got to the point where I was like, for anyone who's upset about me sharing this publicly, if you want to blast me for something I've said in my past or something I've done to you, anything you think is inappropriate, please publicly show it. Put it on my timeline. Fucking tag me in it. Whatever you have to do, you should bring me to, consequences publicly. My friend group should know.
Yeah.
I was like, I am not scared of hiding anything, and I don't have anything to hide. If you are choosing to hide these things, that shows there's a problem.
Yeah.
I was like, you can talk. I will talk to you in your house. I will talk to you in my house. I will call you. We can meet at a fucking cafe, and we can talk here. You don't get to choose one or the other. It's either all okay or none of it's okay. In the sense of, hiding racism. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm also the believer in, for way too fucking long, the reason that these kinds of things fester is because it is kept in families, and even family friends don't know about it because it's a private matter and you don't talk about it.
Oh yeah, and even then, if someone did, they're just you don't talk about that.
Yeah, and it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Especially because, unfortunately, in my family dynamic, they have a way of ganging up together. Even if they say, oh, it's just going to be us one-on-one, you go over there, and them and your aunt is there, and they kind of emotionally or bully you or whatever. They make you just apologize and say you won't do it again. They've beaten down me and my mother and multiple cousins and anyone who has said, probably not great.
Yeah.
It's not a great family dynamic.
No.
But I do think it's a pretty common family dynamic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. but it's not one that I'm putting up with anymore.
Hell no.
So, we run through all this shit, and this is basically the second wave of calls where my mother calls me and she's like, I am getting phone calls from everyone. Talk to your daughter. She's like, what the fuck have you done? So I told her. She was like, called me and she said, you're bad-mouthing her.
You want me to bleep that name?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
But your aunt called me and she's saying you're dragging her on Facebook and you're saying this and you're doing that. And I was like, yeah, because they're condoning racism. And my mom was like, yeah? And I was like, yeah. So my mom read the post and she calls my grandmother, which she said she wouldn't do that day, but she did. Mm-hmm. And then my mom calls me back and she says, your grandmother wants you to take down the post. And I said first and foremost, I don't want third-party communication.
Yeah.
She can call me herself, or better yet, I will call her.
Yeah.
But what it turned into was my mom was like, I have been fighting this racism battle with our family for 48 years. She was like, since I was born, really. She's like, I've been fighting this. So I support you in this. I support you in them, and you calling them out, and you not taking the bullshit, and you fighting and really letting them have it. She's like, I support you.
As do I.
And I was like, thank God. And some of my cousins, as I said before, supported me completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I also felt bad because you could literally physically see when one of my cousins was getting shit from their parent.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, not all of my cousins are lucky like me, where they've been able to move out and they're self-sustaining. Some of them still live with these people, and when there's a post calling out racism in the family, and you comment, yeah, good job, and your racist parent sees it, and you live with them,
you gonna hear about it.
You're gonna hear about it. So
their tune changed from I support you to probably shouldn't have been public.
Yeah, this is a family matter and all that other kind of stuff. And I of course fought that. I was like, my friends and everyone who's on there are also family to me. This is my news feed. News about me. This is newsworthy, and this is the best way I can get the word out. But also, like I said to them, I don't fault you for being exhausted. Yeah. I don't fault you for not wanting to stir the pot. I completely get you not wanting to feed into the quote-unquote drama, but it's only really drama when you're not fighting against the source of it.
Yeah.
Because my family does a lot of shitty backstage politics, and all of my cousins are sick of it. But they have also, as I said before, been smashed down. So I'm like, I get if, you have to say this or you can't support me publicly or whatever. Just stay safe. I love you. I support you. You're all good, man. I get you.
Yeah.
But my mom calls me back and she's like, your grandmother wants you to take down the post. I support you. And I said, I'm not doing it. Unless she legitimately changes, then I would delete it and probably put on a new one that says, hey, that old shitty post? Well, great news, she changed. Send a lot of support and positivity her way, because it's fucking hard.
It is.
So I call my grandmother again, and she picks up this time.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells me, I want you to take it down because I don't want my niece to see it, her other granddaughter. And I said, if you didn't want her to know about these things and how you felt, you shouldn't have said them. Better yet, you shouldn't have thought them.
Yeah.
Because you have the proof that everything is wrong with what you've said in this girl that you love.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I don't want, regardless of how you think of me, I don't want her thinking of me like that. And I'm like, it doesn't change the fact that she'd find out.
Yeah.
And that you are wrong. I'm not doing it. You have not changed. I will only do it when you seriously consider what you've done.
Her concern was public relations, not oh, maybe there's a problem here.
Yeah. Her concern was, well, my other granddaughter, who is black, and her family, who are also black, will see this and think of me negatively. Yeah.
The first person that commented on your post was someone from that family.
Yeah.
Like, the damage done.
It's fucking gone.
Yeah.
You were outed. Yeah. And even better, that's the exact people you need to be outed to. Yeah. Because who is the best group of people to show her that what she's thinking is fucked up?
Loved family.
The loved family who happen to be that race that she is talking shittily about. Yeah. They are the best people to get it through her head. So I told her, no, I'm not fucking doing that unless you've changed. And she said, well, then I've changed and I'm sorry and I haven't been, racist my whole life. Which, as I mentioned before, yeah, she was very liberal, open, everyone is great person. But it doesn't change the fact that apparently some of this was subconscious. Mm-hmm. Or maybe she's unlearned progressivism. I can't give you answers because I don't fucking know still.
Or she was faking it.
I don't want to believe that, but
we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Or even when I was talking to her about black people, she was like, some of them are good ones. So that makes me lead to believe, so was my mother's father one of the good ones? Mm-hmm.
All the ones you see as people are suddenly the good ones.
Yeah. Funny enough that, the whole fucking race are good ones.
Yeah.
But, I mean, of course, every single fucking person. There's going to be shitty people in literally any race.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the race.
Criminals are fucking criminals. It doesn't matter who or where.
I remember telling you earlier today, the important part of black people is not the black. It's the people.
Yeah.
That's where you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Black is incidental.
And even as I've said, or as I've learned and everything else, the actual term of race, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's the human race. There's different ethnicities. But unfortunately, through, God, so many, racist generations and so on and so forth, building onto it, and all this terrible shit that's perpetuated, some people, even some nurses will believe that there's actual, DNA differences. Black people have thicker skin. We learned this.
The blood is different. When you need a pint of blood after a car accident, you're going to make sure that which pint is from a white person.
Yeah. They have a higher drug tolerance, so, we can accidentally overdose a whole bunch of... you know what? Okay.
Fucking hell.
But the point is she was like, I'm sorry, okay, fine, I've changed. And I'm like, you did not change in 10 fucking minutes. You're telling me what I want to hear so that you get what you want. And she said, I'm not like that. And I'm like, yes, you are. You did not change in 10 minutes. And even if you weren't racist all through my growing up, and you taught me all these great things, which I am now parroting back to you, that doesn't change the fact that who you were raising me and who you are now are apparently two very different people, and I will hold you fucking accountable regardless.
You know something, if I may interject here?
Sure.
You remember when you said that when you got to Kansas is when you started to learn these fucked up things? You know how we don't remember everything we're told as a kid?
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of this stuff was subconscious, so, a lot of people's racism got amplified when a major candidate started parroting it on national TV. A lot of people who had kind of behind the curtain, casual comments here or there, felt emboldened enough to say it publicly. And that's kind of what I think happened, because you were raised by someone who had these beliefs but didn't think they could say them. And now they can. And all of a sudden...
And it's incredibly upsetting because my grandmother is one of the closest people to me. Yeah. She's someone I value more than the entire world, practically. And she was so upset. She was like, I hate you. I don't think she really hates me. I just think she was very, very upset. But it still fucking hurt to hear.
You don't say that in impassioned, that's so fucked up.
But she was also like, I'll disown you. you won't get anything in my will. And I'm like, I never fucking wanted your money. I've told you this multiple times growing up. In fact, we've talked about it where she was like, so how much money do you want? And I'm like, I don't give a shit if you give me nothing. The point is you are way more worth to me alive. And she was like, see, this is why you're like the main person in my will or whatever, because I know you love me.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you're not getting anything in my will. I don't want it. I've never wanted it. I've wanted a relationship with you.
Can you imagine being such a snowflake that over a Facebook post you're going to write your own family out of your will?
After calling me a snowflake?
Yeah.
But she was like, well, if you want a relationship with me, you're fucking it up. I'm like, no, you're fucking it up by telling me racist shit. And again, she was like, well, I don't want my granddaughter to think of me like this. And I'm like, well, one, I'm also your granddaughter. And you said this to me. You said it to me. This is what you believe. You are more comfortable talking to me than anyone else. That is shown to be true multiple times. You believe me to be the person you can be honest with. And you honestly told me all of this racist shit. And her whole biggest thing when mom called her or whatever was, it was out of context. It was out of context. She took me out of context.
They always fucking...
Mom saw through that shit. I see through that shit.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. I'm like, you will be held accountable for your actions. You are not above consequences, and I'm not going to just get you out of consequences because you asked. Yeah. And it ended up in, the I hate yous, and I was like, if that's true, clearly we need to take a breather. This isn't working. I will talk to you later. And she kept going, like, I can't believe you would do this to me after all. And another thing, I went into my post where I was like, no shirt, no shoe, no scrap of food or water justifies mistreating and abusing an entire group of people. I don't care if you gave me $1 million fucking dollars. It doesn't make your words or your actions correct. Yep. It doesn't. Flat no.
You can't buy a moral compass.
No, you fucking can't. And I'm a humanist. A humanist. But that's where it ended. And I called my mother back, and she was like, how did it go? And I'm like, not great. Not great, Mom. It didn't go great. And when she found out that my grandmother basically said that she hated me, it like broke a dam. My mom was so upset, and she was crying, and she was like, I didn't want this for you. She was like, I've struggled with hearing that myself. I won't get into it too much because
that's their relationship.
It is their relationship. But as I've said before in this, there were members who were, they were bullying my mother in racist fashion for like practically all of her life. Just all of her life, honestly. But my mom, being an empath and a negotiator, she really wanted to get this to work, or at least understand what was going on, because me and my mom are both people that we need to... It can't just be A to B. We got to figure out where the fuck did A be, where was the middle point? Where was the switch? Because like I said, me and her were both fucking floored. Yeah. This is not the woman who raised us. Yeah. So, Mom calls Gammy again. And then she calls me back. And I'm filling in my friends, and I'm still getting in arguments with people online. And it's not fucking working, because thankfully I have a wonderful group of friends who are also staunchly against racism. Mm-hmm. And even when I wasn't there to reply, they were. Yeah. They're like, no, what you're saying to Bri and, what your beliefs are, they're wrong.
Even, I never respond to posts on Facebook. A lot of times I'll want to, and I never do. I got in on this one myself, and it was weird.
Yeah. F-.
Oh, yeah. I had some good quips.
Good quips. And another reiteration, because I'm so proud of this line. But they kept going back like, who are you going to need if you need support? Who are you going to run to when you need money? And I was like, my fucking master's degree. I'm taking care of myself and have been for about 6 years now. Promise I'm good.
Yeah.
And if I'm not good, I'm pretty good at figuring it the fuck out.
Yep.
So, lots of negativity. My mom calls me back. And I said, so how'd it go? Not good. Just kind of funny. Not super funny, but funny enough. And basically, my mother found out that she just believes these things. And she'll say it's not context, and it's not, it's not all black people. It's just these BLM people, the people who don't understand what their parents sacrificed, and they weren't ever slaves, and they're ruining this country, and
all the fucking standbys.
And Mom was like, you are stereotyping generations of people. And she was like, and it wasn't that long ago. The people who were slaves were practically their grandparents or their great-grandparents.
Yeah.
They're still around. What are you on about? Mom was shocked. And so me and her, the last conversation was us hypothesizing why this switch was flipped. And the consensus we kind of came to was, one, my grandmother has always been money driven, so we believe after like the looting and all that other kind of stuff, she basically sees minorities as, the stereotypical, they're lazy, they're spending everyone's money, they've got 80 kids and they're on welfare, they're taking my tax dollar, which is not fucking great, nor is it true. And two, we basically came up with, it was always there, even when she was raising us and teaching us against the very thing she's saying now. It was just under the surface the whole time.
Yeah, it's why you have to unlearn it now.
Yep. And I had to help my mom unlearn some of these things too.
Still.
Imagine someone literally being a victim of racism all their lives because they're still in this family. They're racist against a whole other minority, Yeah. Like, that's how deeply rooted it's been. But the greatest thing about my mother is her and, like, my cousins are probably the greatest members of the family in that, like me, when you find out you're wrong, it sucks ass. But at the same time, you gotta go, well, fuck, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Willingness to admit that you're wrong and change. Your mother's open-mindedness has been one of her best traits consistently.
And it's getting to the point where I feel so much regret and terribleness for ever speaking ill about my mother, about her being lazy. Only like a month ago, we had this thing where I was talking with my grandmother, and she was going on about how my mom was blaming her for something she did when she was a kid. Oh, the therapy or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was going in on my mom. Like, how dare she? And you were the one that had to be like, A
little bit of sympathy here.
Yeah, a little bit of sympathy here. This is the woman that, you've told me has been mistreated by the family. And at the time, I was like, dude, you just don't understand. And then later on, I was like, no, wait, fuck, that's completely right.
Yeah.
Why was my instinct to blame my mother?
Brainwashing.
Hardcore. So I'm still coupling, learning from that. And as I said, every fucking day, every day I talk to my mother, every day I see these people, as I learn the truth about these family members who I idolized so much and who helped and gave me so much and all worked together, the more I learn about them and how they treated my mother, I'm just like, oh my God, my mother deserves 3 worlds worth of shit for everything she went through.
Yeah.
My mother, the black sheep of the family, is the greatest single person in this family. And she's been struggling with this by herself for so long. Because even if someone else supported her, nobody had the ability, or I don't want to even say courage, because if you're scared of getting fucking beat, why the hell would you speak up? It's not courage if, like, it's gonna harm you, you know? So just stick with ability. The ability for someone to speak up for her until, thankfully, me. And now my cousins are kind of rallying around it. And as I said before, they have much more complicated matters to deal with these people. They're still dependent on them, or...
It's like how we were at the beginning of this whole story.
Exactly. And I will never be upset at them for that, because I've been there and it hurts so bad. It sucks ass having to hide who you are and what you think and let these toxic traits run through just so you can see your own parent.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be doing good in hopefully 3 or 4 years, ? We'll have moved into our own house, one we've bought, one that's bigger, and then me and you and my mother and my cousins can all come around to my house for holidays and just have a peaceful time.
Yeah.
And not have to hear terrible racist shit in the kitchen, or have everyone gossiping about them, about how they're not quite as good. Because this is another thing about my family. I was like the golden fucking pony of my family. I'm the one who went to college. I'm the one who didn't get into drugs. I'm the one who did everything right the way that she's supposed to. I was the standard. And it bred a lot of contempt, because they can all do great. But are they doing BriAnna great? Probably not. Not quite. Because, you know, they dropped out, or they didn't get into college, or, you know, they partied when they were a teenager, and BriAnna didn't do that. The worst thing she did was not make her bed. And now I'm the one, as the golden child, being like, wow, fuck all you racist assholes.
Yeah.
And it's sending kind of everyone scrambling. But also my cousins are like, if literally anyone can change this family, it's gotta be you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be. And
just as long as you don't take that on as, like, your responsibility.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Because my answer was, it's not my fucking responsibility to fix this family.
Damn straight.
It's their responsibility whether or not they want to let these toxic traits ruin the relationships they have with their children. And if they want to do that, if they want to die bitter and mad and racist, they can do that. And we, me and my cousins and all these people who are going to continue the family, are going to have our own fucking holidays, enjoying each other's company and making something better for us and our children. And they won't be around.
Yeah.
Either if they're alive or not, if things don't change. And that's cool. I have no gripes. As much as I love those family members to death, don't get me wrong, I fucking do. But if it comes down to them supporting the abuse of an entire class of people, I don't give a shit if I don't see them ever again in my life. I really don't.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
And then my... okay, so... my aunt's father... we gotta bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta bring it up. So he is the blatant racist of the family, as I've said. And as my mother said, all of my aunts and stuff were calling around, and they're like, can you believe what BriAnna's saying? All that other kind of stuff. So I know his daughter called him. Mm-hmm. At least she had to have at some point. So my uncle, who has not talked to me or posted on my shit at all or whatever, long before since we moved up here, finally posts something. And it was trying to justify racism. Mm-hmm. And I just fucking went off. I went off so bad. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, one, you're wrong, and here's why. And secondly, I don't care what you say. I am not going to listen or give a shit about someone who has called a huge chunk of the family slurs. I was like, it ain't no fucking secret. You are the racist motherfucker in this family. And their response was basically, so, and you're a dummy-crat.
You're
a
a
brainwashed
brainwashed
dummy-crat. And I was like, whoa, really good insult there. Holy shit, you get that out of the first grade?
Got that? Oh.
And
Fuck.
I am not someone who typically really insults their family members.
Mm-hmm.
However, I may have implied that he should rot in hell. I was like, it is because you and your father, who you learned your shitty things from, that so many, like, none of the people in this family currently is going to have a good relationship with their children. It's you. It stemmed from you and your father. You are the poison in this family. Don't you come to me with this shit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A dummy crap.
That was so fucking ridiculous.
I know. I was like, so I am even willing, very much so, to have a relationship with you if you embrace growth and change and all that other kind of stuff. But if you choose to die this way, you ain't making it into the good place.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot more heinous shit than just the racism, but that's not something for the internet to know.
Fuck him. Fuck him. So, that brought us to this.
That brought us to today.
Yeah. Today being our, today is not the exact day that we officially have been in Illinois for a year, but, it's this month. And
There's been a lot of turbulence and a lot of really wonderful things.
yeah. And ultimately, we are much better off now than we were. But yeah, this year started and ended with huge redefining of relations to family for you, and which is interesting because that's what preceded this whole thing for me. I went through a very similar thing, not as explosive and more individualized, but I had a very similar thing before this. Won't go into it. Point is, ultimately, we have come out of this better people, I feel. Because
I certainly hope so.
yeah, we're doing much better. We're in a better place.
Maybe in another year we'll look back at ourselves and be like, wow, what a bunch of fucking idiots.
Oh, definitely. But I'm really glad to be here. As a state, I enjoy Illinois so much more than Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have friends up here, but everyone's starved for companionship right now. But yeah, it's tough to have to go through and redefine what your family means to you, but ultimately you come out the other end with a richer experience because you realize who you are really family with.
And of course, kind of wrapping it up, if you are in a situation where you can't speak up against your family or whatever else, and you're being quiet for your protection, fucking do that, man. It sucks. Dude, being a survivalist for this long, I can't reiterate, as dark as it gets, when you finally get your own independence, it is the greatest thing in the entire world. It makes things so much better. So if you have to put up with it enough to get to a better place, take it a fucking day at a time. Or if you have like an express out, fucking take it. I don't know. Just, do what's best for you. If that means going to a fucking shelter or staying at a friend's house or just being quiet until you got the money to move out, honey. Fucking do it.
Whatever you gotta do, whether it's staying or going, take care of yourself. Live your life the way you want to live it, because it is yours to live. And if you're suffering any abuse, know that there are resources out there for your protection. There are places you can go if you need to go, and if you have to, just do what you can to survive. And there is another side of it.
And also, you don't have to have an allegiance to anyone because of they're your blood. You don't have to. Your family is honestly, and it might sound weird, but they're not your responsibility. You weren't even fully your parents' responsibility. They could have dropped you off in foster care or whatever else.
Yeah.
They chose to keep you there, and you can choose who you keep in your life. So if you have a family member and they're saying, well, don't talk shit or don't ruffle feathers or you can't say that to Uncle fucking Richard or whoever it is, and it's wrong and you want to speak up about it, fucking do. Because if they try to say, well, you got to do family first, no, you don't. You're not responsible for anyone in your life. You're only responsible for you, so you need to make your own family out of the people best for you.
Yeah. Who you support and who support you, not just people who look out for themselves or just happen to be related to you. Your family is who is close to you, and if you don't feel comfortable around them or they are doing harm to you, that is not your family. That is someone who is taking advantage of a coincidental position they have in your life.
Yeah. So, and also call out racists.
Yeah.
And
fuck racists, fuck Nazis.
And if you're somebody who does have racist thoughts or whatever else, which that's kind of something in itself because most racists don't think they're racist.
They just think they're right and everyone else is too
yeah, they have
tolerant.
Opinions. Racism isn't an opinion, it's ignorance and it's malicious. But if you do have biases against people,
confront them, not the people. Your thoughts. Confront your biases. Question why you think things. Find the source. Find the stats. Evaluate it. Even if you are the most set in stone, this is what you just know to be true, question it. Find the source of your thoughts. It should never come to, that's the way it is, that's the way it's always been, or anything like that.
Well, my dad said.
Exactly.
Not even, well, the news said.
Yeah.
You can't, it's very hard to trust anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the shittiest. I don't even really fucking watch that. I have to subscribe to multiple fact-checking sites when I want to get the basics down on a story. Yeah. I have to root through shit for an hour. Is it fucking fun? No. But at the same time, if I just flipped on Fox News or CNN or whatever else, all I'd get is filtered garbage.
Yeah. Filtered through a political agenda.
And I'd rather have the whole heap of garbage so I can understand for myself.
Yeah. So, question everything. If you find thoughts that you have that you're uncomfortable with, learn better. Learn to let yourself grow. Embrace the idea that you can do better. And strive for better. That's it.
Yeah. Be safe. Take care of yourself. You don't owe anybody shit. Respect the people who respect you. And don't take anything at face value. Please search and grow and do the best you can to just be a good fucking person. Just be good.
And wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Thank you all very much for watching and listening to this rather long celebration. Might not have seemed like it at times, but it is a celebration. We have been out of Kansas for a year on our own for 8 months. I am very happy to be here with you.
I'm very happy to be here with you.
Thank you for being with me. We also recently passed our 6-year anniversary about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
We got together in the summer of 2014. And
you sick of me yet?
No.
I don't know. That was a passive no.
Yeah, well, if I had asked you...
What if I go like this?
Yeah, stop that. Anyway.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'm very glad that you're my partner.
Likewise.
No more sappy shit. Cut.
Bye, everyone.